Welcome to Dementia-Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector's webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is the Martyr Syndrome. This video is sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
My name is Glenda Bullock-Willis. I've been in the counseling field now for probably over 30 years. And at this point, I spend my time in the field, hopefully assisting others to keep their balanced mind, body, and spirit. This evening, we're going to talk about Martyr Syndrome and caregiving. And basically, the Martyr Syndrome is defined as, or used in a term to describe people who perceive themselves in a constant state of self-sacrifice. They often feel like a victim in most cases. They view situations that they find themselves in and feel they have no choice. And the behavior, which starts out very much well-intended, can sometimes turn pathological. Being a solo caregiver can have consequences. So in the case of caregiving, you find that sometimes you find yourself in the situations of feeling consumed or thinking that you are the only one who can properly care for the loved one. Caregiving becomes their identity. Selflessness can lead to the Martyr Syndrome. Most of the time, it can be unintentional. Feeling that ethically they are responsible for their loved one's care. Caregiving helps them feel needed, and sometimes they give until it hurts, no matter how much it hurts, and sometimes no matter who they hurt. They can find themselves hurting. They can find people in their nuclear family hurting, like their spouse or their children, but then also the loved one, even though everything is well intended. Find that they can have perfectionism, sometimes developing a codependency, and caregiving ends up becoming their identity. Getting caught up in the sacrifice rather than the care. Being a solo care provider can have consequences. Research says that caregivers experience more illnesses and injuries than their counterparts in the same age group who do not provide cares to dependent loved ones. It can show a strain on many areas of our lives. For instance, physical symptoms of the Martyr Syndrome include headaches, stomach problems, a lot of times with digestive issues. They find that their muscles are tense a lot of the time, excessive fatigue, just feeling tired, not motivated, poor eating habits, or sleep hygiene. And it's usually because the caregiver will cancel and reschedule their own doctor's appointments, including sick visits, and they neglect their physical well-being to meet the needs of their loved one. Sometimes financial things can be an issue with the caregivers. It looking like they may retire from their jobs early. They may reduce their work hours, and all thinking that they're proving the quality of care for the loved one at the expense of their own. Spiritual symptoms can include interruptions in attendance of religious services or spiritual routines, may be minimized or put on the back burner or abandoned totally. Social symptoms can include not being able to remember the last time they saw friends or had an outing to the movies, golfing, biking, reading a book, or just enjoying life in general. So the thing to do is we want to basically check out and evaluate the signs to look for. It's going to be looking at yourself and seeing what could be happening in your life at this time. Are you snapping at people? Do you get frustrated easily? Are you quick to anger? Are your emotions like on a roller coaster ride? Do you overreact to situations now that wouldn't have even bothered you before? So stress can be caused and you see yourself being anxious or panicky, feeling hopeless, or just being ambivalent to situations. So checking out your personality traits can be important too. Have you ever been called the rescuer? Do you try to fix others or situations for others? Having rescue tendencies can lead to becoming involved in the Martyr Syndrome. Danger signs include whether maybe you find it difficult to make time for yourself. Do you feel like you have to speak up for others when they don't speak up for themselves? Do you have a hard time saying no? Do you worry continuously about making mistakes? And if you make a mistake, do you overreact when that mistake is made? Usually when I talk to people and I think about mistakes, I let them know that's why they put erasers on pencils. Everybody makes mistakes. Do you feel you have the answer for everything? Do you feel your way is the right way? Are you feeling exhausted from helping others? And do you feel you have to persevere to save face? How to overcome the Martyr Syndrome? Well, there was some articles that I read to try to tell us how to do that. So it said first, learn how to express your needs instead of bottling up your feelings and then maybe being at risk to harbor resentment. Change your mindset. Know you always have a choice. You may not like the choice you have, but there's always a choice. So we're looking at we can't play the victim. Reach out and explain what people can do to help you. Stop expecting others to read your mind. Let go of the would have, should haves, and the shoulds. Sometimes we have a list of ironclad rules about how you and other people should act. People who break the rules may anger us, and you feel guilty when your rules are violated. Sometimes we catastrophize things. What we expect, we even visualize disaster. You notice or hear about a problem and start thinking, what if? What if tragedy strikes? What if it happens to you? Sometimes we filter. We focus on the negative details while ignoring all the positive aspects of the situation. Sometimes we mind read. Without people saying so, you know what people are feeling and why they act the way they do. In particular, we may have knowledge of how people think and how they feel about us. Polarized thinking. Things are black or white. There is no gray, no good or bad. You have to be perfect or you're a failure. There's no middle ground, no room for mistakes. Or sometimes we overgeneralize. We reach a conclusion based on a single incident or a piece of evidence, and then we exaggerate the frequency of the problems. And we always tend to use the negative label. We need to communicate, talk to people about what we're feeling at a time, state our feelings to avoid being overwhelmed. Sometimes we need to write them down if they need be. We can write down and confront the process of our emotions on paper and get it out of our heads so we don't feel overwhelmed. So this is something that is used in counseling a lot, and it's called I messages. And I messages are a form of assertive communication that model a healthy form of communication. I messages maintain a respectful attitude toward the receiver of the message while also placing a responsibility for changing that person. For instance, we can say, I feel, and then we state the feeling that we're having. When, and we describe the behavior that the other person may be exhibiting that is helping us feel the way that we just described. Now, when we're describing this feeling, we're not blaming the other person because this is our feeling and we have a right to our feelings. So we're kind of separating the deed from the doer. We're not talking about that person, we're talking about the behavior that was exhibited. And then and then you want to describe what the consequence in the situation feels like to you. Then I want. And you kind of describe the behavior that you would like to see, the desired behavior. And then you say again, I don't want. And then the behavior that you want discontinued, you describe that again. This way, it helps to kind of blend our emotions. So it's like blending the heart in the head and having a conversation. Sometimes when we talk straight out of our emotional sense, it can polarize us from other people and we separate rather than coming apart. I messages can be used to help it come to an understanding. Give yourself permission not to be perfect. Control reactions. Build coping skills. Self-talk is very important in controlling our reactions at times. What do we say to ourselves when we get upset or frustrated or we're feeling unmotivated? Do we say things to ourselves that build us up or tear us down? When we're angry, do we say things to ourselves that escalate the anger and the frustration, or do we say things to ourselves that de-escalate it? Stop expecting a reward for your suffering. Identify your unspoken beliefs and expectations. Appreciate what others do for you, even if they do not do it like you do. Examining your beliefs can also help you respond in a way because that lets you know about your worldview. How you view the world sometimes is very important and helps you make decisions. Self-care is more important than usual when you care for others. You have to think about yourself in order to do the things you do for others. For instance, I think about the airplane when they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on somebody else. Also, this saying says, You have to fill your well with water or whatever you need to fill it with in order when you get thirsty, there's something for you to drink and not give it out so you're depleted. So do something for yourself every day. Put yourself on your schedule. Make it a ritual. Make it a habit that you think about yourself. Include your nuclear family in the process. Maybe having regular family meetings or get-togethers. Spend quality, uplifting time with others. Seek help from others, individuals or organizations. Don't take anything personal. Set effective boundaries. Do not say yes when you know you need to say no. And if you have trouble forming your mouth to say no, maybe you can say, I cannot commit at this time. Whatever phrase you need, kind of put it in place so that you do not take on too much. If you have to make meals every day, sometimes your schedule is not helping you in that area. So cook like you're feeding the neighborhood and become good friends with your freezer. Have something in there that you can go pull out and have for dinner. Make sure you're exercising routinely. Whatever exercise that helps you feel less tense, less frustrated, and keeps you moving. It's different for all of us. Sometimes it's just walking. Sometimes it's jogging for people. Sometimes it's lifting weights or riding your bike. Sometimes it's aerobics, or I don't even know, jazzercise. Do they do that anymore? Sometimes it's yoga, can be Tai Chi, Pilates, whatever you can put in place so that you know you're still working to keep yourself physically healthy. Make rest a priority. Take breaks, including you want to get enough sleep. But you also want to schedule in breaks to make sure that you are taking time to rest, taking time to rebuild your toolkit. Develop a thick skin. Kind of don't wear your feelings on right at the top, and then anything somebody says, you may take offense or get yourself on the defense. Take your own advice. What would you tell a friend that comes to talk with you and is going through what you are going through? What would you say to that friend? It's good to be a friend to ourselves. Pull others closer. Do not push them away. Pushing others away can create a more of a feeling of isolation, like you're in it all by yourself. Keep and find a sense of humor. Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. So it's important that you really want to be able to laugh sometimes. Over prepare for outings. If you're going even just to the doctor's visit with your loved one, you may want to take more than enough because you want to be prepared for whatever may happen. Recognize denial. Again, with self-evaluation, look and see if you're in denial about what's going on. Are you walking in a daze? Are you easily distracted? Not effective as you usually are? Maybe feeling numb or mechanical and just going through the motions without meaning. Make a list of all your responsibilities to get them out of your head. Put them on paper, not just your responsibilities to your loved one that you feel, but responsibility to yourself for self-care. What other responsibilities do you have? Are you still working? List those as well. Do you have a significant other or spouse? List what you feel those responsibilities are too. Are there children? List those as well. Put them so you can see them. Sometimes keeping stuff in our head can be very overwhelming. But if we get it out on paper, we can manipulate it. And it's like make more sense and put the puzzle pieces together without forcing them together, but having them laid out in a way that makes sense for us. Try not to make promises that you're not going to be able to keep. Know your limitations, uncluttering your mind. So, some things, when I was looking at what to say and talk about, there was tips for caregivers of elderly loved ones. One was learn about your loved one's disease so you know what to expect. Attend support group meetings, even if you have to, especially now, participate online. Make direct eye contact when you address your loved one. Speak lower and in calming tones. And if it's appropriate, touch or hug them. Find an appropriate outlet for your feelings. Find joy in the small things. Smile and laugh. I looked at a study, I guess not too long ago, and it was talking about how people's moods have changed sometimes now because we're wearing masks a lot when we're out in public. So now when we look at people, we don't always know if they're smiling, frowning, or whatever. You can sometimes read stuff in people's eyes, but sometimes it's good to look at a person and see that smile. It can be uplifting to you and also the person that you're caring for. Seek respite care if needed, not just for your loved one, but maybe for you. Seek professional advice so that you have planned for legal, financial, and healthcare matters. And as your loved one's memory and cognition meet with the challenges that they may meet with, we may need to play along and not present them another challenge. So we're listening with intention. I was looking too, and I had a list of resources that you may want to look into. I added them to the back. And it's one was the Family Caregiver Alliance, the National Alliance for Caregiving. There was also a National Caregivers Library. There was National Family Caregivers, many organizations. AARP, of course, Dementia Friendly America. Survival Guide for Family Caregivers of Dementia, Accidental Martyr. There was something on YouTube that you can go to view. There was also a virtual book club that was session 7 covered avoiding the Martyr Syndrome, and that was by Generations Health Education, who apparently put on quite a few webinars that are available for you to join into. Jennifer Fitzpatrick is an author who wrote Cruising Through Caregiving, and she's an expert in caregiving and dementia, also with Generations. And then Boundaries, Caregiving, Preventing and Avoiding the Martyr, also on YouTube. So there's many, many resources out there that you can put in your toolkit to help you keep your balance as you move through this caregiving journey that you're going to go through, trying to make it the most pleasant journey as possible for yourselves. And as you find, caregiving is one of the hardest jobs you will ever do. But you don't want it to come at the expense of your own physical or emotional health. And you want to hold on to your balance. So I just like to say thank you for joining us. And I want you just to take a few moments to breathe. As you are where you are now, I'd like you just to find your own rhythm and then just breathe. This is what you can do in your breaks. You can also just breathe, and you're breathing intentionally. You're consciously breathing. You're thinking about only your breath, which is a good vehicle to help get you to relax. You can do this before you go to bed. You can do this when you get up in the morning as you set the intentions for your day. So using the breath as a tool can be very important to us too, where we can relax, we can release, and we can renew. Thank you so much.